Ding dong ditch, ding dong ditch. Getting gas this morning. I noticed the person before me on pump 3 bought $10 worth. Where the hell were they going? To pump 4?
You're an idiot. Oh.
There's how what is happening?
Was that your phone?
Yeah, that was my phone. No, that was Matt. He's trapped in cyber hell.
He's with Steve.
Yeah. Stop yelling. It ain't so bad.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, now we hear you.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on there. And goddamn, Chris, that was the sketchiest looking email I've ever clicked a link on in my life. And I've done some shady ass shit in my teenage years. The fucking marketing photo with the fucking, hey, finger gun dad look. Like, goddamn, bro.
Click here.
Well, I'm involved. I have all your apps now. I can log into anything. So
here we go.
Singles in your area want you. Well, I know that's a lie because nobody wants me.
So what's up, man?
We're doing it.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Oh, doing all right. Chris, how are you doing? Good.
I'm frustrated, but that's beyond this conversation.
No.
Yeah. So listen, before we get started, I thought there'd be a cool, basically normal intro. I have one thing I want to say to Tom. I'm going to do a COVID test on this call. You okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, okay.
I don't think it can be digitally transferred.
So I'm just going to basically prep it.
Imagine if COVID could be digitally transferred, though. It'd be like the new fear.com.
What was that movie with Daniel Radcliffe where they live stream people killing each other?
Oh, Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo.
Yeah.
That was sweet.
That was a wild ass movie.
That was a surprisingly good movie.
Yeah, that definitely caught me by surprise. I was not like, I wanted to see it just because the fucking like trailer picture looks so damn good. With him in his fucking robe and the fucking slippers with the guns. Yeah.
That was just an awesome movie.
That was a fun movie.
That was a legit good movie, and that chick was so hot.
That chick is hot.
And no one accidentally got killed.
Yeah, right? That's because Alec Baldwin didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I saw a meme yesterday. It was like Alec Baldwin on the phone, and on the next frame was Kyle Rittenhouse, and it said, just tell him you're using blanks.
Oh, God.
Hello, listeners. Another Sunday here with Tommy Blast. Today we have not only a very special guest, but a very loyal and opinionated listener, Matt Levy. Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Chris. Yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I'm not going to go in and complain about why my day is shitty, but besides that, I'm doing well. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing pretty good. Again, I'm not gonna complain either about why my day's been kind of fucked here, but it's all right.
Matt, is your day good? Like compared to our shitty days? Is you're having a good Saturday so far?
I mean, I feel like I should be like following along with the flow of the thing here, but like at the same time, I feel like I should be contradictory and be like, yeah, no, my day's absolute shit, and you're not going to hear all about it. But it's actually going not bad. It's a beautiful day. It's a little chilly. Got my bike out on the road, and I'm just I'm on my truck working, and so like I really can't complain.
There you go.
So before we get started in our interview with you, I do want to say happy belated Veterans Day, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your service.
Yeah. Well, it was my pleasure.
How many times did you go to Afghanistan? Was it 3 or 4?
Oh, geez, I lost count. I don't have that many fingers, so I lost count of how many times I went.
Is it because you lost fingers in Afghanistan, or you've?
I mean, I don't know. If I was smart enough to figure that out, I would have joined the Air Force.
Too many times picking up those IUDs.
Yeah. Yeah, they were the hardest part of being over there. Ow! Ooh, it poked me. But thank you. I appreciate that. And just to clear the air here so I don't get accused of stolen valor, I've never been overseas. So
you almost were though, right?
I almost was, yeah. I almost got deployed, and then I didn't. They tried to hit me with the old those in the Army call it the green weenie when the Army comes around and is like, hey, who wants to get fucked? So
for the first time was actually on your side, Tom.
Yeah, for once. Once and only once.
We do thank you for your service. We know you did do a lot of work, interstate travel, all that stuff. So we do appreciate it. And, I always thought that Veterans Day was observed on a Monday. So the Thursday kind of threw me off. And I know last year it was like Wednesday or something. And it's just, why isn't Veterans Day on a Monday or observed on a Monday? But it turns out it's just on the 11th of the month. And it's always been like that. I never noticed that.
Do you know why?
No, why don't you tell us?
I don't remember which war it was, but on the 11th day of the 11th month, on the 11th hour, they called a ceasefire to the fighting. Yeah. So, yeah. It was one or two. I just couldn't remember. But yeah, the 11th day, 11th hour, 11th month, that's when they called the end of it. And that's when they honor everybody, and the fields grew poppy.
And then 40 years later, there was a heroin epidemic.
Go figure, right? Like, let's give the military all the good shit to test.
Yeah,
but that's it. That's your history fact.
There we go.
Well, that's awesome. I do appreciate that. I just thought that it was always observed on a Monday, like a Martin Luther King Day or a Christopher Columbus Day. I thought Veterans Day was just a Monday, so everyone was able to get a long weekend.
That would be cool. It'd be cool if it was like an actual like holiday too, like not one of those ones where it's like, like it's a bank holiday. It'd be nice if it was like, no, everybody gets off type thing. But
I'll tell you what, man, I had a lot of shops closed on Thursday, so my day went really quick.
Before we get too into what what kind of stuff you're seeing there, let's just give everybody kind of an idea of what it is that you do. So in your own words, how would you describe what it is that you do in the automotive industry?
So, in my own words, what I do is I run around and I provide mechanics of all fields, whether it be automotive, motorcraft, recreational vehicle, or even small engine guys. I run around and I provide them with what I personally wholly feel are some of the best tools in the world. If you ask their wives, I provide them with an excuse to say I can't take you out to dinner because I don't have any money.
Well, it's probably a little bit of both, right? That's why the top step on your truck is labeled the step of consent, right?
It absolutely is. Have you seen that? Have I sent you the picture of it?
Yeah.
I think it's the staple.
So so everybody can, obviously, you, me, and Chris are all aware of it because we've talked about it, but just so everybody in the audience has an idea. So like they've either never thought about it or they just aren't familiar with it, but mechanics have to largely buy their own tools. The jobs are flat rate, which is that it's paid by the working hour, like the billable hour. And now who is it exactly who determines what the rate is for a mechanic? Is that all data or
no? So basically, the vehicle manufacturer, whether it's Ford, GM, Chevy, Volvo, BMW, Mercedes, they've got these guys that think they know everything called engineers, and they're the ones that are largely responsible for why your bill is so high when you get your car serviced, whether it's at a dealership or at an independent repair shop. But so what the engineers do is they think of the most complicated way to configure a vehicle and all of its components. And then they say, well, it should only take you X amount of time to complete this job, whether it's changing an alternator or replacing a gasket. So they sit there and they figure it out. And then they tell the deal, then that's what becomes called the book time. And typically they will take that book time. Now, if you've got a car under warranty and you go in, you don't have to pay anything for it. Just know that your technician who is working on your car is 9 times out of 10 probably getting shafted. Because if the job says it pays 8 hours, if the job should take 8 hours, warranty time is probably going to be like 4 to 6 hours. So they're losing time and they're not making money on it because they're spending 8 hours plus and only getting paid for 4 to 6 hours of it. So it's the manufacturers that do it. Now, companies like AllData, and there's a bunch of them out there of different names. What they do is they basically run around to all the manufacturers and collect that data, which is why they're called AllData. Data. Called that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they collect all that information, and then that program is available to the independent shops, because a lot of the OEM information is considered proprietary. So, but obviously we have somewhat for now the right to repair, as long as they don't take that away from the independents and car owners and enthusiasts. AllData collects all that information and puts it together, and that's where most of the outside of dealership shops get their times from. And typically those are what they consider warranty times. So that's what the job would pay warranty. If it's not a warranty claim, they do tend to increase it. And there's an algorithm to determine how much it's increased. So if warranty says it's 4 hours, but it's out of warranty, so it's what a technician would consider cash pay, then it's, kind of like 1.5 to 2.5 times what warranty is. So if it's 4, it now becomes 8 to 10, depending on the job and the slitheriness of management.
So then, just to kind of marry it all together, then, so your role is basically to provide techs, like the technicians who are working on these vehicles, who may or may not be getting shafted with time, but regardless want to do things in the fastest way that they can, the most efficient way that they can. Your role is kind of to provide them with the specialized tools that will help them complete the job, in as quick of a time as possible, so that they're able to maximize the amount of time for which they're getting paid, right?
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest things that we really do. I mean, I'm allowed to say who I work for on here, right? Like, I don't think I'm not beholden.
That's your call if you're okay with it.
Yeah. So I'm a Snap-on guy. You can call me the Strap-on guy, whatever. The rape van. Like, I've heard it all. I get memes from all my customers every time they make the cycle online. Like, it's no joke. Like, and when I went around Halloween with a bucket of candy, it was hysterical. Big white van, candy. All the jokes came out. So I work for Snap-on, and if you know anything about tools or about the automotive industry, Snap-on, we've got a fantastic reputation and a not so fantastic reputation, in so much as we're expensive. And yes, if you look at, for the average person coming off the street, Tom, if you wanted to go out, you're rebuilding your deck. All right, you're going to need some type of a socket and a wrench probably to do lag bolt.
Right.
You could just as easily go down the road to Harbor Freight or Hazard Fraught or Home Depot or Lowe's and buy what you need. But you could also come to me and do it. Now, the cost of a wrench and a socket from there is probably going to cost you $10. Depending on what it is over here on my truck, you're probably looking at 60 to 70.
Right.
And the reason for that is that there's a lot of engineering that goes into it. And I could probably spend an entire 3 podcasts talking about all of that, but I'll try to sum it up. There's your typical sockets and wrenches. When they grab a fastener, they grab on the corners, and they're typically 6 or 12 point corners on these fasteners. And the corner is the thinnest part. We design ours to grab off the corner onto the flank, and that gives you a bigger bite, and it saves you the hassle of rounding out a bolt, because if you round out a bolt, then now you need to go back to your toolbox and get another tool to grab the rounded off bolt, and it's just a headache. So we do try to design our tools to be the best, to allow you to get the most work done in the least amount of time.
That's one thing that's always kind of fascinated me when it comes to like working on stuff of my own is that, you take for granted sometimes, you're doing something that's kind of fairly simple, or seems like it should be fairly simple, but one bolt that gets rounded off or something can absolutely just decimate a whole afternoon.
There's a meme out there that says every 5-minute job is one broken bolt away from a 3-day ordeal, and it's an absolutely 100% true. I've been in it.
Oh yeah, but
I was a technician professionally for 5 years. I worked for several different dealerships. I've worked at a body shop doing all the body part removals and reinstallations, as well as the prep work. And before that, I'm in my I'm 31 years old. I've been driving. I've had a car in my permit since I was 16 that I all paid for, so don't think I was given anything. I've worked hard for where I've got what I've got and where I'm at. But I've always done my own work. The only time I brought my car to the dealer was when I was 16. My car got rear-ended and I couldn't get into gear because I was driving a manual. So it turned out to be a clutch and a fork. But that was within 6 months of me getting my permit, and it wasn't my fault. I was at a stoplight. The old woman behind me was on her phone. So I've definitely been in those situations where it turns into a ridiculous ordeal, especially as a young person with not a lot of money and can't leave well enough alone because I never can. So I like to modify my daily driver to be a race car because that's young and cool. And, and it really sucks when you break something and then you're spending the whole weekend trying to fix it so you can go to work on Monday.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a very fun situation.
I'm actually learning a lot right now because, just like guns, I don't really know much about cars. So I do find this kind of interesting, but the time factor is really cool, I guess, because even in my garage, when I'm not repairing cars, but when it comes to some like equipment, like a leaf blower or a chainsaw and whatnot, I notice how I need to constantly go back in and grab another tool for something.
Yeah. That's how it always is.
Now,
that's something we look at too. Like our toolboxes are some of the most beautiful toolboxes in the world. And yes, they're pricey, but there's a reason for it. The construction of them is stronger and better than what you're going to find at Harbor Freight. And we have more features on it that make things easier to organize. Like we've got power tool holders. We have little drawers that you can configure with grids. Because if you look at any mechanic, Tom, next time you're at the old dealership, go into the shop and ask a mechanic to just open his drawers quickly for you. And I guarantee you, every one of them is going to have one, if not two or more drawers full of miscellaneous bull crap. Yep. Whether it's just random nuts and bolts and fasteners and clips because they found a way to engineer it better than the guys at headquarters did, or they just put something back together and ended up with spare parts. So, that's what guys do. So, like, we've got drawers that are designed for that, but so you can make sense of the mess. You can keep your nuts here, your bolts here, your screws here, and stuff like that. And it's all about saving time. The quicker you can get in and out of your box, the quicker you can get your cars worked on and in and out of the shop, thereby making more money.
And now, are you just the smaller tools, or do you go all the way up to like the lifts as well?
So the way that works, we have Snap-on does have a shop equipment division. There are two branches of that. There's Snap-on itself, which does the tire machines and wheel balancers, and then we have another company we own called John Bean, and they do the alignments. They do the alignment machines and racks. They do the lifts, and they do have their own line of wheel balancers and tire changers. Like they're very high end. That's you're gonna find those in places that have a lot of volume. But predominantly, what I do. All the hand tools, everything that you would find in a typical technician's box is what I'm going to provide. I do have the ability, though, because of who I work with, where we will just buy a tire machine from Snap-on and we'll sell it to a shop or to a customer. We also do the diagnostic equipment. So all the, your check engine light doesn't mean to just look at your engine. There's a computer that you have to plug in and read what's wrong with it. And that's how you figure out your diagnosis. So we pretty much do it all.
So if a mechanic came out of like Mavis and wanted to open up his own shop, it would be good to get in touch with Snap-on to basically set up their establishment so that they're able to get all of their tools, from the small hand tools to possibly the lifts and all of the diagnostic machines.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's funny that you used Mavis as an example because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Snap-on's got a contract with Mavis. So I'm fairly certain that only Snap-on dealers will be able to service Mavis.
I mean, the bigger companies, it's a time thing. So their I would say, slick enough to realize that they need to spend a little bit more on something that that is quicker than go the cheaper route, which proficiency is really what you guys, I guess I'm assuming, like sell on, just getting things done super fast. And it's a volume thing rather than
an actual, if you're a professional who does this day in and day out, your goal obviously is to work on as many cars as you can. And so therefore that's why it's worth it for you as a professional to invest in the professional grade stuff rather than the stuff that you would get from the, the local hardware store down the street.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to the age-old adage of time is money. And I mean, it really is. Especially, I tell you what, man, you want to see somebody get pissed off, keep some of their employees on the tool truck for too long, and you'll see a very angry person because you're taking up their technician's time, and their technician's time is how that business owner is making money. So, it's a fine balance of pushing we save you time and make you money for a price, and taking up too much of their time and making trouble.
Yeah, I could see that. I haven't seen the inside of your truck specifically, but I've been inside like a couple different of the tool trucks, and yeah, it's like you could very easily just spend like 20 minutes in there just looking around at everything that's inside and looking at all the stuff.
Dude, if I tell you, if you came on my truck for 20 minutes and thought you saw everything, I'm going to call you a flat out liar. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. All right. I don't think I'm the biggest or the best unless we're talking about nasal categories. I've gone into plenty of shops where I've met the owner, and the owner was an old time gearhead, the type of guy that had like the old fuel tank racing cars where they take the fuel tanks off of World War II airplanes and turn them into like Salt Lake drag racers, like old school car head guys. And they now own a shop, and they'll be like, all right, yeah, I guess I'll come out in your truck and see what you got going on. And they'll walk up my steps, they'll cross the step of consent, and they'll turn and they'll look at the back of the truck. And I'm not exaggerating. It's a literal jaw drop. Everybody's blown away by the amount of inventory that I carry, quantity of what I have, the variety of what I have. And it comes down to one simple thing is I've got to have it to sell it. So, and that's just how and I say we, because I work for somebody who owns a couple routes, and I run one of them. My technical title is a store manager. My store is just on 4 wheels. We keep a good stock, and because you got to have it to sell it. And very rarely do I have to tell somebody I don't have that, let me get it for you, unless it's something really weird or quirky or special. And chances are we've got one. I may not have it on me because it may be bulky and take up space or not highly requested, but I'll get it for you next week.
Is there a specific tool that you see a lot of mechanics that are like, wow, I want this, and they all seem to be just going specifically for that tool?
So like I said, I need to preface this answer with something real quick. So like I said, I work for somebody who owns a couple routes. He ran this route. He set it up. He picked it up off the ground. So he built this route up very well, changed things around, and set everybody up really well. So basically I came in to carry the torch and just, pick up the new people that came in and make sure everybody stayed with it. Doing that, I have picked up a fair number of new people, people who've never had a Snap-on guy, people who are just starting out in the field. And there's like 3 tools that everybody absolutely swears by with us. And it's going to be our ratchets, it's going to be our wrenches, and it's going to be our screwdrivers. And I would actually even say sockets, but a lot of guys overlook sockets a lot because they don't really grasp the finesse of it. So my answer to that would be ratchets, screwdrivers, and wrenches are the 3 tools that we make that everybody gravitates towards, and almost everybody has, more so than any of our other competitors.
That's really cool. So how exactly did you get into the position of being like the sort of in charge of the route? Did you meet this guy through like a job as a technician, at one of the dealerships you said you worked at, or was it just like a friends of the industry type thing, or how exactly did that happen?
So Like I said, I worked at several dealerships. My first dealership was down in Summit, New Jersey, working at a Volvo dealership because I'm a huge Volvo guy. I left there after about a year and a half to move to another Volvo dealership closer to home. And then I left there to completely change brands. And that was my last dealership. So I was there for just about 2 years. And last year with COVID, you guys, everybody knows what happened. Like everything shut down, everything got crazy. People weren't going anywhere. Nothing was happening. The wheels stopped turning, basically. They gave us the option to go out on furlough, voluntarily go out on unemployment. And I've got a daughter. She wasn't in school, but I was still trying to go to work. And we got a 40-hour guarantee. It means we were there for 40 hours. We got paid for 40 hours. And going back to your flat rate that we were talking about before, on a good week, you could be in that building for 40 hours and get paid for upwards of 55, 65 hours. And I wasn't doing that. Because there was no work coming in. And I was out. I was only making 40 hours, which was just enough to cover my rent. Nothing else. No cell phone. I have several storage units, car insurance, things for my daughter and daycare for my daughter. So I was going to work to make 40 hours and I was losing money. And it didn't make sense to do it. So I went out on furlough and I was out for most of the year. They called me back in the end of the summer and said, hey, we're getting busy. We could really use you back if you feel comfortable coming back. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like my back is killing me from my couch. I'll absolutely come back. Sure. I went back. It was busy for about a week and a half and then it dropped off again. And then it was just weeks of guarantee. And it was just like, how am I going to be able to do this? I'm now relying on my fiance to cover the bills more so than she had been. And it wasn't fair to her and it wasn't right. And I felt miserable. A lot of the times when a mechanic wants to leave whatever shop he's at, the first person we talk to, other than our spouse or maybe a friend, the first person we talk to, they're seriously like your first step, like browsing Indeed or something. The first thing we do is we talk to our tool guys because our tool guys go all around the area. Typically, you live around where you work most of the time. And if that guy's servicing your shop, typically he's servicing all the shops in the area. So I went to my tool guy, my Snap-on guy, and I said, hey, I'm looking for something different. He's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I still want to work on cars. I'd like to get into another Volvo dealership because I really liked working on them. But I would be open to going to maybe the DOT or the town or the county highway departments. He's like, all right, I'll look. And he was like, yeah, no, they're not hiring. They just hired somebody and then COVID happened. So they're not hiring anybody right now. I was like, okay, what about, the people that work on Caterpillar, like construction equipment and stuff? He's like, I'll check. Came back the next week. He says, hey, put out an application. I guess they thought that I only worked on little, Matchbox cars and I wasn't qualified enough because, to be fair, like, I'm not going to lie. I got into this field with no experience. I was a shade tree mechanic. I learned how to work on my own cars. I got into the Volvo dealership because of a good friend of mine that taught me the ropes and showed me how to do things. And he basically helped me train and learn how to be a technician, because there's a big difference from the mechanics of our parents' day and age and the mechanics today. We're not mechanics anymore. We're technicians because everything's computers. Long story short, nothing was panning out. He was like, I'll keep looking for you, though. And I'm like, all right, cool. And of course, he was going to keep looking for me because I had a good balance with him. And typically, you don't want to lose a good customer. One, because you don't want to lose that potential sale in the future. And two, you don't want this guy to dip off the face of the earth when he owes you a couple $1,000. So he was genuinely looking for me. One day, he hit me up and he was like, hey, you want to meet me for a drink at this bar? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I met up with him, not knowing what I was going into. And he just came to me. He's like, hey, so do you ever think about, selling tools? And I was like, no, never really thought about it. And he was like, well, I'm looking to bring on somebody to train and run the truck for me. And it just kind of went from there. So it was my Snap-on guy presented me with the opportunity to do what he does.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it really was great. I've never had a sales job. The reason I got into mechanics is because I hate people.
That had to have been a big shift then.
Well, that was the one thing I was nervous about. It was like, all right, so I did, high school, college, right out of high school, I did retail jobs. I worked at a gas station. I worked at a grocery store. And then right before I met our good friend Tommy Blast here, I started working at a factory. And it was a factory job, second shift. So all the weirdos and no general public. But everything I did kind of kept me away from the general public. I was just always a background worker. I didn't have to deal with people. I didn't have to help people. So I was hesitant. I've been doing this for 15 years, working in the background. I was like, great, now I'm out there. I'm the face of a company. I'm the face of a franchise. I've got to be a salesperson. And it turns out that it works out really well because everybody that I deal with, all my customers, all the technicians out there, they're all pretty much like me. We're all kind of the same breed of asshole here. And we all hate people and we've all got a similar sense of humor. So it worked out really well. It's basically, I'm driving around and seeing people that 90% of them I could see myself hanging out with and having a beer with. Biggest thing that helped was that I do genuinely believe in the product that I'm selling. And that's why I never did a sales job, is because I couldn't find anything I believed in enough to sell. And then this happened. It really helps. And it was really surprising to see how that actually happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I always liked about working in the automotive industry where I did, I was in the parts department of a dealership. And so I did have some like necessary, interaction with some of the sales guys. We're looking to get kits and things on vehicles for, that they were selling to the customers. And then I had to deal every now and then with the average guy who comes in looking for something that, he's going to do at home. But for the most part, yeah, it was fairly insular in that it was a lot of mechanics and stuff that I was dealing with. And yeah, there is definitely like a common theme among everybody in that sort of industry. There's all different types of people, but it's like everybody sort of gets it, like everybody's kind of on the same page.
Yeah. Everybody's kind of got that mentality of, like, it is what it is. I'm here. You're literally, like, figuratively and literally the grease that keeps the wheels moving.
I like that. But it's also an interesting point you bring up about like being able to actually have faith in a product that you're selling, because me and Chris have talked about that. It's very hard to sell something that is either like intangible to you, like you can't like wrap your head around it, or it's like, not something that you do actually believe in. That's what I think helps somebody come across as, more genuine in like their sales pitch than somebody, trying to hook somebody up with like a sort of like really shady product that is like a fly by night company or is something that's designed to be sort of predatory. I think there's definitely, it's a good thing to be able to look at the product you're selling at the end of the day and be like, yeah, this is a good thing.
It's almost like you're not even in sales. You're bringing them the store and they're just going in and picking what they want in a sense. And you're giving them a good product. And that's, again, we're all kind of in a sales role, but if we believe in what we do, it's not really sales. It's more, you're just giving the options and explaining to them what they already want.
Exactly. And like, it's funny. You're right. I am bringing them the store. Like, something to think about and consider. There's only one other brand that has better store frontage than Snap-on. Do you know who it is?
Who's that?
Apple.
Really?
You ever see an Apple store? You ever go into one? I guarantee you it's probably going to be the biggest store in that mall aside from maybe a Macy's.
Yeah, you're right.
But you look at them in like the front of their store, it's all windows. You can see everything. It's clean. It's sterile. It's like everything's right out there in the open except for the shady shit they do in the background and in the programming. It's all there. Right. Now, the only reason they're better is because they appeal to the mass public. Doesn't matter what walk of life you are, whether you're in the ghetto or in the, Long Island or, everywhere you go, you're going to see an iPhone. But that's why they're the only company that has better store frontage than us. Other than that, we're Snap-on. We're one of the biggest names in the tool brands. We've been around for 101 years now. And you see a Snap-on truck and you recognize it. It may look like a Freihofer truck, but if you look closely, you realize it says Snap-on and not Freihofers, and you probably shouldn't pull out in front of them because he can't stop as fast as the bread truck can. And true stories. And we're a rolling store on wheels. we are bringing them the store. We are bringing them a great quality product. We're also the only tools that are allowed in space per
really?
NASA.
That's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. So all the tools that NASA uses and brings to the space station and has on board the shuttles and everything, that's all Snap-on made.
That's crazy.
Are most of your products all American made?
Yeah. So that's another thing we pride ourselves on. We're American made. We have so many different places throughout the country that manufacture our products. We're based out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's where headquarters is. All of our diagnostic stuff, the computer things, like our scan tools and everything like that, they're made in like Silicon Valley, because where else in the country would you make it? We have toolboxes manufactured. I believe it is Algona, Iowa. 99.999% of our stuff is made in America. We also have a sister company called Blue Point. Blue Point was a company back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s that made a very good quality product. And we ended up buying them and said, you're going to continue making tools, you're going to continue using your name, but you're going to be under us, and we're going to base you out of Taiwan. So we do have a lesser expensive line of tools available that comes out of Taiwan from our factories and our methods and procedures.
That's cool. So that line is more aimed for like the casual enthusiast than the professional that the normal line is, right?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's still a higher price than what you're going to find at your hardware store, your Home Depot, your Lowe's, your Harbor Freight, but it's most assuredly going to be a better quality. I mean, back in the day, I'm sure your dad, Tommy's got a fucking set of Craftsman wrenches and sockets and stuff, and he probably got those from your grandfather, and your grandfather probably bought those new, and they were really good back in the day. And over time, their quality has gone down. I started out with a Craftsman set, and I picked up a Snap-on ratchet for the first time at my first dealership, and was just like, holy crap, I can't believe how nice this is. And that's when I started buying Snap-on stuff. But yeah, so that Blue Point is definitely more attainable for just your average person walking off the street. So you get these people that still want the quality, they still want a better tool, they still want the lifetime warranty. It's reassuring knowing that, if I break this wrench or this socket, I don't have to buy it again. I can just bring it back to the Snap-on guy and he'll replace it for me. But, it's also geared towards the guys that are just starting out. You get a kid with stars in his eyes. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and he has that little glimmer that shines off of him when the light hits him just right, because his hopes and dreams haven't been crushed and demolished yet. He's like, I want the best of the best. So he'll be like, all right, well, let me get these. And then, we'll sell him those, and it's more affordable because he's just starting out, but he needs this stuff. There's a very good basic rule that I've found throughout the automotive field in every shop I go to, and it's that if you borrow it 3 times, you need to buy it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're using somebody's tool to get a job done. Well, what if they need that tool and you're borrowing it? How many times are they going to let you work out of their tool?
Right.
Like, it doesn't work that way. So Blue Point's a good way to start out with, and then once you get your wings, you're not wet behind the ears anymore. You're rough and rugged and seasoned like good old firewood. Friggin' trade those Blue Point things in towards the Snap-on set, and I'll give you some money back, because it's still a quality product. It's still warrantyable. It's still good and usable, and I can sell it to somebody else. I can sell it to the next guy down the road.
Nice.
Now, are you only able to sell to shops, or let's just say you go grab lunch somewhere and you park your truck and some random person walking around was like, hey, I want to buy one of these tools. Can you sell to that guy, or you can only sell to mechanic shops and people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely can sell that guy. And I tell you what, I did not go to Afghanistan. I do not have any missing digits, and I cannot use all my digits to count the number of times that has happened. There are plenty of times where I'll be at a shop and somebody will be like, oh, hey, I need this. Do you have it? And of course, 9 times out of 10, I do. And they'll be like, oh, great, let me get it. And I'll ring them up. I'll tell them the price, and they'll be like, oh, man, like, that's a bit pricey. And I'm like, and I can tell the guy doesn't do this stuff for a living, but I'm like, hey, I mean, it is what it is. And he's like, all right, yeah, well, I'm in a bind. I need it. And I can, cash or card, get it paid for, something like that. He's going to pay up front for. And the reason I say that is because we don't run, it's not like coming into the Snap-on truck as a technician at a shop. It's not like walking into a store. You walk into a store to buy anything, you're paying for it all up there, right? Unless you're going into a rent-a-center or doing a layaway or financing it, right?
Right.
And if you do finance it, you're typically paying an exorbitant interest rate too. What we do is we have two different types of accounts on the truck. We have what's called a RA account, which stands for revolving account, and then an EC account, which is an extended credit account. So every week I have a route. I have a rotation. Every Monday I see these people, Tuesday these ones, so on and so forth. They come on the truck, they pick out what they want, they buy tools. We agree to a weekly payment, and every week I show up, they pay me what we agree on, and I take it off their balance that they owe me. And I don't charge, so I finance it for them with no interest. And then the EC account, the extended credit, a toolbox. A toolbox can range anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on what setup you're getting.
Right.
Something like that. With the formula we use to structure our weekly payments with people, somebody buying a toolbox typically isn't going to be. We're not going to be holding that on the truck. We're going to say, hey, let's send in a credit application to Snap-on, in which case Snap-on will finance it. And there is an interest rate. So our credit accounts, they allow people to make a bigger purchase, like a toolbox or, a bunch of tools at once, and maintain a lower weekly payment than you would have on the truck. Granted, there's interest, and that's typically structured out over about 3 years. You can absolutely walk on and just buy something outright if you wanted to.
That's cool. So now let me ask you a question. So, you talked before about how like the tool guy, right? The tool guy at any given route, it kind of has his finger on the pulse of what's happening, locally, and like sort of has in a general sense, like an idea of what's going on with the industry where you guys are. Have there been, because you hear a lot about right now, I know there's all kinds of like shortages as far as parts go, because there's problems with supply chains and things like that, and computer chips as well, I know, are being affected. Are there any trends you're seeing as far as like in your neck of the woods where people are having trouble getting parts, or it's like a longer wait time? Is there anything that's sort of like kind of bottlenecking the industry currently that you see?
I mean, it's all around, and I think it's every industry is being affected by it. As far as what I'm seeing, like in my customer shops, I deal with body shops. I've got body shops where they've got, thousands and thousands of dollars out in parts, because the body shops front the bill for this stuff, and then they pass it along to the insurance company, and the insurance company reimburses them. They've got money out for parts, and the parts just aren't available. They're in infinite back order, they're unobtainium. And it's tough. The second biggest thing that's going on is workers. We just got done paying people to stay home for a year and change. People are reluctant to come back to work. I have shop, as much as technicians and mechanics and all the workers know that you can talk to the Snap-on guy to find a new job. The shop owners know that they can talk to the Snap-on guy to find a new employee. And the number of shops that I have asking me for, anybody who's working, I just say, listen, if I could sell employees, I wouldn't have to sell tools anymore. So there's, it's true, man. Like I can make a killing selling people to work. Like, I'm sure my FBI agent's having a field day right now. Going, oh!
What's crazy though is that mechanics can make some good money. So is the shortage because there's just not a lot of people in today's day and age learning how to fix a car? Is that more of the problem rather than a shortage of people not wanting to work? It's just there's not enough talent to work in this industry.
It's a mix. It's a mix of things. Yes, it is a mix of people not wanting to do it. We've spent so long as a society pushing this idea of you need to go to school, you need to get good grades, you need to go to college. I mean, look, we don't have trade school. We don't do trade training in school anymore. It's BOCES. And, I mean, I never went to BOCES. I never did any trade training. I also went to private school most of my life because I was in a really bad, dangerous school district growing up. So it was either go to private school or possibly end up shot or shivved in the hallway. But I remember growing up and like and I'm sure it's not just me, but my association with schools like BOCES was always oh, well, that's where the special needs children go to get more help. And it seems like it's only the last maybe, I don't know, 8 years that people are starting to realize that going to BOCES doesn't mean you have a learning or a mental disability. It means you're preparing yourself to be a blue collar worker. You're preparing yourself to be somebody who's got dirty hands and clean money.
Right.
But a lot of it is, there is a lot of disenchantment. The cars today aren't what they were 20 years ago. It's all computers. So a lot of the old timers are getting out of it. And that opens up a void for workers, which then gets filled by kids that go, oh, well, I saw somebody do this on YouTube. And now they're in a shop and they're trying to do it. And, you typically find those guys at, your quick Jiffy Lube places. And they think, oh, well, I should be getting paid more than I am here. So let me go to a dealership. And they go to the dealership and the dealership's like, well, you just came from a Jiffy Lube, so you're not worth that much money. And so it's a mix of people not learning how to do it right and a mix of people thinking they can do it and thinking they're worth more than they are, and add in a little spice of, well, I'm the boss and I don't want my bottom line getting cut to pay you more, so take it or leave it.
Yeah. When I was in high school, they had a thing on BOCES where the guy from BOCES came and was talking to us all. And I remember he started it off with, now I know what you're thinking, right? I know what people think about BOCES. They think that it's only a place where the really smart kids go. But I got news for you. Anybody can go there. And we all kind of stopped and looked at each other like, wait, is that what we think about? and there's this one guy in the back who was like, nah, man, that's not what people think. And the guy was like, okay, but we'll get to that. So yeah.
Well, when you look back now, the really smart kids did go to BOCES.
Yeah, I mean the ones who kind of had it figured out, I guess, that it did, like, obviously it was the wrong perception of BOCES for us to have when we were kids. That was just a prevailing sentiment. And then the other thing I thought that was kind of funny that you mentioned there is I've heard from the older guys all say the same. The older guys all say the same thing about the young guys, and the young guys all say the same thing about the older guys, right? The older guys, they have all this knowledge, but they tend not to want to like be very forthcoming with it. So you get like a little bit of a divide there. And the old guys, a lot of them are not totally adept with a lot of the computer systems in these vehicles and things like that, because they're used to, the old like 67 Barracuda, with the carburetor that worked with the same technology as a flushing toilet bowl. I just love to throw a little dig about carburetors. But the other thing is that the old guys will say about the young guys, like, all these kids, young guys nowadays, they're just programmers. They don't know how to turn wrenches. They don't know any of the grunt work that goes into being a mechanic. And like, it's true. It is one of those industries where it is at this point in time, it's a very even mix of both things. And you need to be able to, brute force things sometimes and have to pick up just heavy shit and do hands-on stuff. And you also need to have the finesse with the computer to be able to make everything work once you physically put it together. Definitely there is like a lane in between both of those two things. And like that, it's not easy.
There is. I mean, and a lot of the generation, a lot of the people from the generation that is coming in to fill the void that's being created by all these old timers retiring, it's a lot of the I'm entitled generation. They think everything's easy and is going to be handed to them, and it's hard to find, the good apples in the barrel that like genuinely want to learn and have a knack for it. Like, you've got to have a knack for it. Like, I could never go and do real estate, or I could never go and do bank loans, or any of that stuff, but because it's just not my thing. Like, I don't have a knack, especially for bank loans. I don't have a knack for numbers like that. I can't do math. I can't do figures, and I'm not good at explaining that. But like, nuts and bolts are easy. Now, the last dealership I worked at, it was anytime a car came in, which, you would plug it into the computer and you literally just sat there and pushed buttons while the computer did all the testing and diagnosing for you. And then at the end of it, it would say, replace this component 9 times out of 10. Like, the 1 out of 10 chance was disconnect this connector and get a voltage reading here, or do a smoke test here. Like, it was really the least mentally challenging job ever, because the computer did it all for you. But then there was those problem cars that would come in where the computer's telling you one thing, you do it, and it still doesn't fix it. And now you really need to figure it out. And unless you have the understanding of the components and the systems and how things work together and how they should work together, you're going to be really going to have a rough time trying to figure out why it's not working and why the computer is telling you to replace something that's not affecting what's wrong. Right. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the computer can only do so much for you, and then it is kind of up to you as a person to figure out, like, go back to the basics there and say, okay,
Yeah, and that's just, everybody's like, oh, well, yeah, it's great. You plug in the computer and it tells you, and I'm good with computers because that's all I do all day. And, I got a good enough diploma because I wanted to play computer games. I'm good with computers. I can do this.
Right.
And it just doesn't work.
Now,
I lost what I was going to say already.
Yeah, that happens here on the old spin zone. No. But like from, obviously I'm not in the automotive industry anymore, but I was in it long enough, and I still follow a lot of the news about it, and I try to keep into it just because, as an enthusiast at this point. But I feel like at this point in time, especially with the advent of brands like Tesla that are coming out, and they're really trying to make it so that the average person can't repair their vehicles, and that, not even just the average person, but that it is specifically only a Tesla dealership that will work on a Tesla car, and the parts aren't even available for, the average garage down the street that you've been going to for decades now, to be able to work on it. So I feel like we're in kind of not necessarily transitional, but it could potentially be a transitional point in the automotive industry where there's the concepts that have sort of been standbys this whole time are getting called into question and trying to be like kind of reinvented. I mean, not necessarily just with electric vehicles in general, but in terms of like right to repair that you mentioned, do you think that could change? And if so, what do you think could be the implications for the future down the road 20 years?
Well, I mean, so that situation that you're like, this has been a cycle that has happened every, I don't know, 5-10 years. And they've been doing this for decades, where the manufacturers making the push for it. And it makes sense why they want to do it. It's like gambling. The house always wins. So, they want to keep the money in-house. If you have to bring that car back to them to get it fixed because nobody else can fix it, then that's guaranteed money in their pocket. And that's why they want to do it. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because, as much as at least not over here, there's very much a fighting spirit, and you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are just going to be like, well, screw you. I'm going to do what I want to do anyways, because that's basically how this country was founded. And parts of that still linger. And I don't think it's ever going to fully come to a point where everybody's going to be like Tesla and do it. Now, Tesla's a really weird example because like there's always, from their inception, there was a whole bunch of weird litigation going on with them and against them about how they they don't have dealerships. You order it directly from the manufacturer, which nobody else does. You don't go to the Ford factory and say, give me a Ford, and they give you a Ford. You go to the dealership, which is licensed.
Right. The dealership's kind of like a franchise.
And also, like, exactly. And it's exactly what they are. And then but with like Tesla, I'm pretty sure they've got a clause in their agreement that like you never actually own the car. Like they can pretty much take it back at any moment. I'm almost positive that, but like don't take it for fact. But like I don't think it's going to go that way. And if it does, for whatever reason, if that does manage to happen, where the right to repair is completely removed, it's going to be rough. Where you're going to see the state of automobiles and road travel in this country kind of be like Cuba for the last 50-60 years, where they got all these 1950s Chevys and Fords and Cadillacs brand new, and then we embargoed them, and now you go down there and they've still got those cars, but it's like an Isuzu Hijet diesel 4-cylinder underneath the hood of that 54 right. Bel Air. Like you're going to see a lot of that happening if they go that way, but I really don't think they will because of how much of an economic impact. Like, not that the government really cares about the economic impact on the general public, but I think they can't deny the ramifications of an impact that large. So I don't think they'll fully let that happen.
Are there any other larger companies that are gearing toward the way that Tesla is manufacturing?
In a way, like what you mean, like what, like buying directly from the manufacturer?
Yeah, like are they trying to eliminate their dealerships and like slow down the dealership model to sell directly from manufacturing?
No, I don't think so, because these companies, all these other manufacturers have been around for so long, and they've got a fairly I hesitate to use the word a decent system of manufacturing and production and dispersal of their product, but they've got a model that works for them somehow, and it just wouldn't make sense to try and change that and get rid of all those people. Tesla is, for the longest time, Tesla was something that was kind of, you really only saw in like the Whitestone driveways. It's not an everyday, it's not a Honda. The same person driving a Honda wasn't going to have a Tesla. Now they're getting better at it and making it more efficient and economical and reasonable for the average person to own. So you're going to see them more and more, but these other companies, they're just going to be like, well, if we can make a car like Tesla's making and use our network of dealerships to get it out into the hands of the public and on the roads, well, we're going to make bank. So I don't think anybody else, I haven't seen anything, and I don't think they will try to get rid of their dealerships, because that's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
Tesla was grassroots, so they had no other way, because it's very competitive.
Right.
The reason why we don't have electric cars is because the gas industry put the kibosh on that decades ago. So Tesla had to fight tooth and nail to get to where they are now, and like I respect it. They worked hard and they did something amazing. But they didn't have the ability to just make the dealerships, and it was just easier for them to have the control over this, what is basically revolutionary prototype technology, to make this fully electric car the way they do, and for them to maintain the control over it that they need to and they want to. It doesn't behoove them to follow the model of a Ford or a GM.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that you really don't own your Tesla, and they can call them back at any time, that some of these other dealerships don't play off that, like, own your car. Because, Tesla's obviously a big threat now, since it is a car that, the average Joe Schmo can purchase now, possibly. You'd think that there would be a little bit more of a like, how like the Audi and Mercedes, like they kind of go right after each other because they're both German-made cars. So like they are direct competitors of each other, and in their marketing they knock each other occasionally. So you'd think that some of these cars would go after Tesla a little bit, like if you really didn't own your Tesla and you're spending all this money, hey, actually own your car? Like, you think they go off a campaign with that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that's the way it is with Tesla. And I believe the reasoning for it was just so they could mitigate any risk of lethal recall issues.
Right.
And that may have all changed because you remember a while ago, Elon Musk released his patents and basically, pulled his dick out on the table and said, if you think you can do it better, here are my designs, go and do it. And nobody did. That might have gone away when he did that move, but like I said, I'm not 100% positive that was the case. I never sat down and read the fine paperwork, the fine details of their lease contract and everything.
Right.
But as with any car, though, you really don't see a lot of people buying new cars and owning them. It's all lease to lease.
Yeah, leases are definitely becoming a lot more common, and for every 10 people you get who lease the car and then end up buying it out of the lease at the end when the lease is up, 90 of those people will just turn the car right back in and get something newer.
Exactly. I mean, and as Chris said in his introduction of me, I am an avid opinionated listener of you guys. That goes back to your podcast a couple months ago about planned obsolescence. That's really
which is funny because I remember when I I went into it when I was looking at the research for it. I was like, nah, I mean, it can't be a thing from the top. But then the more I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit, it is kind of planned. And then it was I think 2 months after I did that I started seeing things on, and I'm not saying they got the idea from me, obviously, but what I'm saying is that then I saw Donut Media made an example or made a video about planned obsolescence, and they even used the same example that I did in the beginning about the paint colors from GM, and it was so it really is kind of entrenched. It's an idea now that's it's been around forever, but now I think we've really gotten to the point where it's they've got sort of using it, manipulating that idea down to a science.
Yep. And part of it, it's funny too, is it's kind of coming back to bite them in the ass here in a little bit, because, obviously obsolescence, it's just what you need, what has to happen in order to compete with the advancements in technology. But going along with that is their frugality, because this whole microchip shortage that we've got going on, the reason this microchip shortage we got going on is happening, and why there's, football fields upon football fields of pickup trucks down south that can't be driven, is because all these chip processor manufacturers, they kept urging these car manufacturers to upgrade their technology. For example, let's just say they started out and they were like, okay, we got an Intel Pentium, 4 processor. All right. How long ago was that? I don't even think that's a thing anymore, but an Intel Pentium 4. And, we could have the capability of having a 12, but we're going to keep running the 4 because it's cheap and it works and it's effective, and just keep making that. Well, they did that. They kept making the 4. Everybody else that bought processors from that manufacturer advanced with the times. They went to 5, to 6, to 7, to 8. They're now on 12. So they're doing okay because those are all there. And the manufacturer was like, all right, well, we know we need to make this many 4s, so let's make those 4s and be done with it. And then everything shut down. We blew through our stockpiles of stuff, and all these companies that are giving them more money to continuously develop and advance from 12 to 13 to 14 on these processors. It was like, hey, don't stop doing what you're doing. We're paying you to continue to advance, and they're paying you more to continue to advance. Whereas these car manufacturers are like, yeah, bro, we agreed on fucking X amount of dollars for you to make the 4. Why aren't you making the 4 anymore? Well, because my supplies are going to where the money is, and that's why we have this microchip shortage.
So it's not even so much a raw materials problem as it is just a sort of like a refusal to upgrade, and so it's more of a bureaucratic problem within the bureaucracy of the company, not willing to upgrade their sort of system.
Exactly. Because, they know that these cars aren't going to be around forever. So it doesn't need the best of the best.
Right. It needs to be good enough to get it through the warranty period. And then it's your problem. That's crazy.
Exactly. I mean, look, we talked earlier about trades and trade schools. When's the last time you saw a TV repairman?
Yeah, it's
a wash. If you're lucky, you get the Maytag guy out there when it's under warranty. After that, what do you do?
Yeah,
go to Home Depot.
It's crazy. I know a guy whose dishwasher was shit the bed, and then he was he was looking at dishwasher repairman, and there's one company around us. Apparently they're a good company, so that's good. But there's one company in my area that actually does home appliance services. And I remember thinking when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's like probably something that, people should be doing around here. But then I thought about it some more, and I thought, like, I wonder if you can even get the parts to some of these things. Like, I know, like new refrigerators, for example, someone I know got a refrigerator and they had it for 6 years and then it just died, and they tried to get it repaired. And I forget who the company was, but they just straight up told them, like, yeah, no, we don't have the parts for that anymore. Just get a new one.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to me. Like, I had you were over my house. It was that day Larry was up in the face of whoever it was when he was making the phone call. That TV that was in my parents' living room, that broke because old house, long story short, we blew a board in the TV trying to hook up a cable box on the same outlet. Fucking ridiculous. That TV, we had to send it up to what's that town right out just south of Albany? Like you're in the town and you can see the Albany skyline. It's like not mechanical. Anyways, it's up by Albany. It's the only guy in the area that could repair this TV because my dad didn't want to buy a new TV because he spent good money on this TV 6 years ago. Brought it to him. He had it for 3 months, fixed it, and said, "Don't break it again because I can't get the parts."
Jesus.
And it was, and the reason he couldn't get the parts is because the company that made the parts sold out to another company, and the other company hadn't fully figured out how to do an inventory of what they just bought from the other company.
I just feel like a lot of the televisions, refrigerators, dishwashers, how can they really get any better? Why can't we just now kind of stay where we are so that if it does break, we have the parts? There's no reason to upgrade TVs or dishwashers or refrigerators anymore. I mean, what can be what's better? Except size of a television, right? So I'm sure you can still use the same parts and just make it a little bit bigger. I mean, remember when the 60-inch TV came out and it was like 10 grand for a 60-inch TV? Now you can get an 85-inch TV for like $1,000. It's just what's better than that now, except a 90-inch TV. It's not like you can make it any thinner.
Well, actually, I just picked up a TV. Well, Tommy Blast is coming down tomorrow to pick up a TV with me. I just bought a 70-inch nano cell TV. It's a $1,200 TV I got for $800. And I was talking to my friend about it, and he was like, "This isn't what we discussed." He's like, "You only need like a UHD TV." And he's like, "How much better can it get? You've already got 4K." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "What the hell is nano cell?" And I had to look into it because I didn't know. The guy at the store was just like, "Well, you're getting this TV. It's the base model. For $100 more, you could get like 2 tiers above it. And, it's a much better TV for like hardly anything." And I was like, "Fuck it, let's do it. I want a new TV." So I did it. And then I had to sit there and look up while I was on Discord with my friends what the hell nanocell TVs actually were. And really, all it does, it doesn't do anything else except give me a deeper and richer black. So I paid $100 more for a TV, but I tell you what, it's going to be the blackest of black of black. Like, you're never going to. It's going to be huge. Nobody's going to have a better black than me on this TV. It's great. So yeah, you're exactly right. It's just like, cool. I paid $100 more for something that's advertised as much better, and what does it do? It gives me a deeper, darker, saturated black. I mean, it's like that car company that made that paint that was the darkest black in the world. It's so dark that it actually absorbs.
Yeah, I saw. That's crazy though. I mean, I've seen
it's cool.
Yeah, what is the point of
it?
it?
Cool, but what's the fucking point? What's the purpose of it? I don't even know how much a gallon of that paint costs.
And then that, and just imagine in the summer, you go to get in your car and you just you end up looking like one of the Nazis from Raiders of the Lost Ark. You're just like,
I was just going to say. I was just going to bring that up. I was like, that's exactly what you're going to be like. It'd be terrible. But hey, I got the blackest car in the world. What are you going to do about it? Oh, well, I'm going to make the whitest car in the world or the bluest. It's just one giant fucking measuring contest.
There is a lot of that. Well, I think that's a lot of the mentality with the disposable consumer electronic industry too. Is that it's like, ooh, well, you may have a 1-year-old fridge, but I got a 3-month-old fridge, and it's like they do essentially the same thing. And they, but my fridge has a TV on it, and it's like, oh, cool. What do you watch out here? It's like, not much. It's like 10 inches wide, so
Yeah, well, you know what I really want though? I want that fridge that I can play Skyrim on.
Really?
It's an actual thing. Yeah, dude. Like they've released Skyrim to be played on a fridge screen.
Jesus Christ,
that seems so excessive, but that is something that would be cool to have.
Bethesda would absolutely do that. They're as bad as Rockstar. Let's just release the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and then so good news when you get the Bethesda smart fridge, it's only $29.99 per month to activate the screen, and then if you want Oblivion, then it's another $39.99 a month. If you want Skyrim, well then you could just get the Oblivion Skyrim package for a nice accessible $119.99 a month. It's like
and people are going to do it.
Yeah, what? $200 to play Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind on my screen, on my fridge? Like, sure. And then there's in the tiny notes, it's like,
I mean, I know I spend a lot of time opening my fridge and looking inside, but geez.
Wow.
Yeah. In the fine print, it says failure to pay, 1 month's delinquency shuts the fridge off. Everything just goes bad.
Yeah, imagine that we're at a point in time where if you don't make a bill pay, they can just turn off your appliances, so everything in it just goes bad.
Yeah, Bethesda would just call that the Fallout mod.
Tesla's doing it. Yeah. Tesla cars are actually able to, I believe they're working on it, or they've started doing it in some places. Teslas, I believe, are able to actually self-diagnose and order parts and create an appointment.
Jesus.
For service.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just waking up one day and finding an email saying your Tesla just ordered 4 brand new tires?
Yeah. And he's like, I have an appointment on January 6th to get them installed.
Yeah, it's just you don't go. You were supposed to take me to the appointment.
Yeah, you just hear it you're on the road, the doors all lock and the windows go up, and it's like, so what happened, Chris? It was my mother's birthday. Yeah. How was it? Was it as good as, was it worth driving on 4 blown out tires? And it just explodes its own tires.
Christine, 2021.
That's
that
is actually a genius remake.
Make that movie.
Think about it now with the it could have been dude. There's so much automated technology in a car nowadays. It's I feel like if you were going to remake a movie, that would be the one to remake. You'd probably get
man. Just like you said in that episode, Hollywood needs to reach out to you guys.
Think about it.
I think they are remaking Christine. I'm pretty sure I read something a while back. They just haven't, I guess, greenlit it yet, but I know
the way he solves it
at one point.
He drives it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna kill me, huh? Well, let's go on one last road trip first." And then he brings her to California, and immediately, the California, the LAPD, just swarm on the vehicle and dismantle it and take it to a junkyard because it's not emissions friendly. That's it. That's how he wins.
Just drive. And if California doesn't work, just bring it to New Jersey.
just bring it to Camden. And
so who do you get to star in it?
Who would star in a movie like that? It would have to be. I would want a man of a lot of depth, but also a guy that you could see working on a car.
Amelie Hirsch.
What? Amelie Hirsch? Oh man.
Yeah,
I was gonna go for my boy.
He's a big name, but I
don't know. I was gonna go for my boy Rygos.
Who? I don't think Ryan Gosling would do a movie like that. You need somebody that's like famous but not that famous who would do.
Maybe you get
like
Ryan
that.
Reynolds to do it.
What about bringing back like Oz?
Bring back who?
Who, Matt?
Emilio
Estevez. Yeah, because he was in the other Christine, right? You could bring him back. Yeah, he could be. Yes, I was just thinking that he's the mechanic at the dealership who, like, he hears the kid complaining about what the car is doing, and the service manager is like, "What the fuck are you talking? Cars don't do that." And then you just in the background, you just see this one guy on the creeper underneath the car, and he comes out, and his eyes are all big, and it's Emilio Estevez, and he's like, "I know what kind of car that is." I know what's happening here.
Then you get Tony Todd in there as the devil or something.
Yeah.
You never should have done this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, by the way, I did take a COVID test during this, and I am COVID free. So I guess I just have a cold, and I'm overweight, which explains the breathing issue. And I drink alcohol. Therefore, that is why I feel hungover.
And we should all wear masks to protect you. Got it.
You know, one thing that always does get my goat a little bit is like when people are like, "Oh, like you." And listen, I absolutely understand it because people are always like, "Look at this dumbass wearing a mask alone in the car." You know how many times I've caught myself doing that just because I am a scatterbrained son of a bitch and I forget that I have the mask on and I'm like, "Fuck!" And I click rip it off. I'm like, I hope nobody just saw that. Like I'm gonna be on a World Star video.
It is funny how often people openly cough now.
It's like a thing. The world really is healing for better or worse because people are mostly walking around without masks anymore, which is good. But then they're coughing, and it's like, what kind of cough you got there?
Yeah, but I mean, like they're coughing without even covering their face. They're just
that's always great.
People are gross.
Matt, I do want to thank you for coming on. I think we all need to do is have another podcast with you on here, and we need to get another listener that is on the opposite spectrum of your views, and we need to have a fun argument podcast. What do you all say?
Which views of the opposite are we going? Wait,
so
which
you
views
and I kind of fall a little bit more on like the conservative spectrum of some things, I would say, most of the time. And we need to do is find someone that's a little bit more on the, on the liberal side of things with Tom. And I feel if we have
on the whamby-pamby liberal side.
What's that? Exactly. And I think that could be a fun little podcast. What do you all say?
You could just come and hang out and like bring a tape recorder and record me and Tom hanging out tomorrow, and that would be the extent of that. I thought you were going to be like, "Oh well, it just so happens I'm friends with the Mac Cool guy over here, so I'm going to bring him onto the podcast."
All right, now time to the meat and potatoes here. Air wrench clutches. Who's got the better one and why?
Tell you what, man, our air hammer is the best on the market. We have the longest stroke and the most close per minute.
That's solid competition. And then
that's where I thought this was going. Oh, Jesus.
So, and we're going to edit this one today. I think we're actually going to release this one tomorrow.
Oh boy! On Monday,
you go.
Listen to the sound of my melodious voice, because that's what I do. Every Monday, I drive out to Connecticut. I got roughly an hour drive, depending on traffic, on 684, and that's when I listen to you guys. So hearing myself on the speaker.
It's always fun. Just wait till it gets uploaded on YouTube, and then after like a day or two, YouTube will automatically assign it closed captioning, and then you'll be able to read your own voice. That's what threw me for a loop the first time I saw it. I was like, whoa.
Oh, God. No.
Gotta love Google. No. Gotta love Google.
Crazy.
God.
Ooh, yeah.
When's Google coming
That's gonna
out
be
with
like
car?
That is going to be the ugliest car, probably. It's going to look like a bar of soap with wheels. Yeah.
It's going to be a bar of soap with HAL 2000 in it.
They're going to come out with a bike first, I think.
Yep, yeah.
Oh, leave it to Google.
Yeah, the bike, and it's gonna, it'll have like it has to work on Wi-Fi, and if it doesn't, then it just like the brakes lock on it. That'd be kind of fun, though.
It needs to know your location.
Yeah, like
every single.
It'd be funny, and it's got to be like fingerprint activated, and like if your hands are dirty or anything like that, it just won't go. I'm sorry, your fingerprint is not a match.
Oh my God, it'll happen one day. It'll happen. It's all going to come down.
Yeah.
It's all going to happen, and we're going to be in the metaverse.
Yeah.
That's what this is all going for.
How exciting! How exciting is that?
We're gonna this is gonna be a great lead into your next episode with the opposition, somebody of the opposite viewpoint. But basically, the way we're going, I think we're really just gonna end up in the metaverse, and we're all gonna have nothing and be happy about it because we have our own identity that we've chosen online in the metaverse.
Yeah, it's gonna be like that thing in what the hell was that? Was it Videodrome, where everybody's like hooked up to the machine Gamer. And like nobody lives in real life. Like there's just like you're hooked up to like a feeding tube and you're in the virtual reality or whatever, and that's it. Was that video? I don't. Maybe that was a Videodrome.
Yeah.
Oh no, there was another one that was more recent.
Oh yeah,
Gamer. Remember the one with Gerard Butler where you were able to be like in sim life?
Gamer.
That was a funniest movie.
And then I really liked the sequel to that movie,
happen.
Which was 2019's Joker. I'll see myself out. I need a janitor to come in and start mopping over my shoes now. Which, for the record, I still say, in terms of physical comedy, is the funniest thing. That is like the height of physical comedy. That and like a dog in the hat of a profession, like a dog in a chef's hat. The dog can't cook. Pluto could never manage to be the master wordsmith that Goofy was. He couldn't muster such eloquent diction. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Golly. What is a man? He's a miserable little pile of secrets.
You stupid. Matt, listen, thank you so much.
Chris, thanks for having me. I'm definitely open to your idea there. I know we got sidetracked from it, but
yeah, no, we'll definitely get that going soon. And I guess we'll
and then
see everyone next
listeners. I wish I had a button to cue the music.
We still got to do the outro yet.
Want to do the outro, Tom?
So, Matt, thanks for joining us.
All right.
We all learned a lot today. But the most important thing we learned is that it's not necessarily about the destination. It's about the car that gets you there. No, the music just like cuts me off. But yeah, thanks for coming on. We did actually learn a lot. I learned a lot about just various aspects of the automotive industry, and I'm somebody who considers myself to have been at least somewhat involved in it. So very insightful and informative. And Chris, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. And for someone that knows nothing about the automotive industry, I appreciate
definitely
a little bit of education.
Yeah, I had a blast. It was a pleasure talking with you and sharing. I feel like we didn't cover nearly as much as I thought we would, but it was definitely a good time. And there's always another time and a place. And for the record, I fully intended, I had a spreadsheet in front of me of all these Jordan Belfort quotes that I was going to slip into it, and I didn't get to do one of them. So, God damn it.
Go ahead and say one, and that's how we'll cue the music.
Oh, man. Now you're putting me in the spot. I have to open it back up again. You are not the mistakes of your past, but the resources and capabilities you have gained from your past.
That is very good. Very insightful.
Great. Very good. Guys, we will...
I just found one.
Wait. Hang on. What's the better one, Matt? What's the other one? Okay.
It's more relevant to what we were talking about, but the best way to sell something, don't sell anything. Earn the awareness, respect, and trust of those who might buy.
That's good. That'll help you sell the Jordan Belfort's cocaine pen. You're not selling the cocaine pen. You're just enabling somebody to do cocaine through the pen.
Bro, not gonna lie, sometimes that's what my job is every day.
Hey, you know,
gotta kind of think Wolfie sometimes.
Well, and that's the best note to end on. I hope all our listeners can find their cocaine pen and do whatever it is that they do with their cocaine pen. And fuck Jordan Belfort.
And fuck Jordan Belfort.